And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford. More team previews are coming your way, and we've got a whole bunch of teams after this one. But if it is by alphabetical order by city, guess where we go to next? Our nemesis, whatever. Uh, in 2025, it's not the rivalry it once was. I don't see any clotheslines happening anytime soon. So we'll just say the guys over on the other side that have one more championship than we do for now. For
For
now.
now.
For now. It is the Boston Celtics, and who better to talk about the Boston Celtics than someone who was on this show previously? He is the managing editor of Celtics Wire. Right there for you. Please go ahead if you are into the Boston Celtics, if you are wanting to know more about the NBA, and if you want to know more about the Boston Celtics in detail, there's no better place to go than his shows, his interviews, his articles, all in detail right there on Celtics Wire. It is Justin Quinn. And Justin, great to have you back on the program.
Good to be here.
All right, indeed. It just I would love to say that I would see a Lakers Celtics rivalry rekindled like this year in the finals, but a little thing happened on the way to that in regards to a certain injury that changed the mindset of those in Boston. A lot of stuff is going on in Boston. In fact, LA is emulating Boston with an ownership change. Yours just finally went through. Your governorship, which was something that was supposed to take place over the course of a few years, actually that got closed off pretty quickly. So a new governor is in place, which for us is something we are keeping an eye on as well, because, what happened with Jeannie selling the team or the prospects of doing so, saying that, oh, I'm going to be governor for a long time, and thinking, didn't quite work out that way in Boston when they said that. So let's start off there. How is the ownership change going for Boston? How are Boston Celtics fans perceiving this ownership change?
Well, nobody is excited to root for cap savings. And eventually, I think Lakers fans and pretty much any other team's fans are going to be in exactly the same place under this new CBA. Your neighbors in the city probably aren't the most popular people in town right now for reasons we can get into or not later, because of potential salary cap circumvention rules. But the reality of the new CBA is that if you want to put out a contending team, you are going to need to spend a lot of money. And if you do that for too long, the penalties that come along when you are in the second apron long enough, it basically becomes impossible to maintain a team without incredible luck and incredible GMing for longer than 2 or 3 seasons, realistically. The Celtics were in their second year before the really harsh penalties would hit at the end of this coming season, partially through the gradual implementation of the new CBA's second apron penalties, but also in part by design. When they brought on new players, the idea was always going to be that these new additions to the core of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum were going to be temporary. And we saw Drew Holiday shipped out. We saw Kristaps Porzingis traded away. The returns were not great, but I think we're in a situation now where everybody's kind of over a barrel at the same time. And if you can make a move happen with regard to managing your cap without losing significant assets, or in this case, no assets, you did pretty good. I think we're going to see a lot of teams turning over talent like that. So if you find yourself in a situation where the team you follow is on the down cycle, it's probably only going to be a few years before they start building things back up again, aided by the movement of all these players. So this is something that Lakers fans will probably be going through in about 3 to 4 years.
And with the Celtics, and I've stressed this on the show, I said, guys, okay, if the goal is to tie or pass the Celtics in world championships, the time has to be now, because the Celtics, like you said, due to tax implications and also the fact the Jayson Tatum injury that he suffered during the playoffs, that has changed the mindset for them to reload this season. So this season is a gap year for the Boston Celtics. So how do you think that the Celtics should approach this season? Obviously, they've already traded away Porzingis. They've traded away Holiday. They bring in Simons. Again, looking at the lineup as it is, the roster as it is, they've done a partial teardown of the team in whole. Do you think they should have done more? What's the kind of feedback you're getting? What are your thoughts on how far you think they should go in tearing down this team before, like you said, quickly rebuilding it once again?
Well, I was speaking with Yossi Goslin of the Third Apron. He's a local Los Angeles resident. He eschews fandom at this point, so I guess you all can't claim him anymore. But he is a great person to follow if you want to get an idea of how these things work. And when we were talking about what Boston might do, he actually, with a non-homer glasses on, definitely saw the situation in a more aggressive teardown than I did. Also, being a cap expert, he has different priorities than someone who wants to see their favorite team win more titles, right? So he was of the mind that they might even go so far as to trade Derek White. They found a way to get not only under the second apron, but also to flirt with getting under the first apron and potentially out of the tax entirely. They aren't there yet. They could still get there by the trade deadline. There is the entire issue of Anthony Simons, which is very interesting. There's like a lot of guards you see in the league right now that are score first, defense never.
Yes.
There's not a lot of value for those kinds of players in this kind of a cap environment. Those big paychecks that we used to see guys like Cam Thomas getting are gone. So the Celtics are in a unique position where they could have a variety of options coming out of this, in that they could re-sign him or extend him for something that's more agreeable to everyone. I've heard things float around $24-25 million a year, which is a couple $1 million less than he's making. I think they could go as low as above the mid-level exception, because there's only a few trade exceptions in the league that would be bigger than that anyway that someone could be signed into. So I think there's a pretty good chance that he does end up staying with the Celtics. But if they choose, they could get out of the tax entirely with a deal like that, should they get him closer to the full mid-level exception of around $15 million. They could also just let his deal expire, depending on if it goes disastrously. He's on an expiring deal. Or they could try to get some value out of that almost $30 million, like $28 million, I think his salary is, by one of those teams that realizes they aren't going to be a contender and they don't want to finish the season in the luxury tax and start getting that repeater clock ticking and all the penalties that come from it. What they could do in that situation is just trade him away for whatever assets, whether it's draft picks or cheaper younger players. So they have a variety of options in front of them, depending on what the market dictates, depending on how Simons plays this season, whether he actually puts in some effort defending on a team that's trying to win for a change. You have to remember he's coming from Portland, where they haven't really been trying to win for a while now. So I would have to say that the Celtics right now are in a pretty good condition between that and the significant number of flyer players that they have taken on this season. Sorry, wife teaches.
No worries.
Basically, what the Celtics are doing right now is taking a lot of chances on players who probably aren't going to pan out, in the hopes that they get one or maybe two of them who actually do become rotation players or better in the future. In a very developmentally oriented approach they wouldn't be able to do if they had a healthy Jayson Tatum. So you guys, I think, are in a much better position, Lakers fans, to be winning a title soon, just because they have to get that player and or other players back in the fold. And there's a pretty good chance it's not going to be next season. There are some delusional Celtics fans. I love them. I love their enthusiasm. But they think because there is a chance that Jayson Tatum could come back this season, that they'll be back in the hunt immediately. That's not happening. We remember Paul George when he came back from his significant injury. We, of course, as Celtics fans, remember Gordon Hayward, how long that took. When you have this kind of a profound injury, you have to get the confidence back, and then you have to get the high-level condition, all of that back. That's not happening this season. But circling back to the Lakers side of things, the Lakers are in a situation where they have an ownership group that is, no offense to the Buses, they just didn't have the kind of money that you need to compete in this kind of a cap environment. And now y'all do. And we have seen what that ownership group has done with in other sports with a similar attitude, which has me as a Celtics fan a bit nervous. And any of you guys who are worried about the LeBron drama, don't. It'll work itself out or it won't. You guys are in LA. You're going to be good whether he wants to be there or not. You guys are amazingly set up for the future with Luka. And honestly, LeBron is a placeholder. And it pains me to say that. But at this stage of his career, he is a good starter who can tap into something more occasionally. You can't expect that from him. Could be a valuable trade chip if he wants to go someplace else, and y'all agree. But in any way you look at this, I think the accounts for titles might be tied sooner than people realize.
Once again, I'm on with Justin Quinn. You please go ahead and check out, if you're a big-time Celtics fan or an NBA fan, check out the Celtics Wire. Please go ahead and check out all the great work he's doing there with the volume of articles and videos right there for you as well. Let me ask you this, Johnston. Again, one of the things that we grudgingly admire about the Boston Celtics organization there on our show is the fact that the front office had a plan and they executed it, and it got them to several playoffs and it got them to a championship. We have a strong belief that Brad Stevens, if he's allowed to stay, and even with the new ownership, I would be think he'd be crazy to let Brad Stevens get away because he has built winners before. It's proven, it's documented, and I think he's really done a good job of that. You also have a good coach there as well. You have a good foundation going forward. Lakers, your mileage may vary on that, so I'll just leave it at that. But when it comes right down to it, that's the concern we have. That's the concern I have, is that your team sees how Jayson Tatum's is doing. I understand the zealousness of your fan base that think he might be able to. He's good to go by the beginning of next season. Even if that's the case and it's 2 seasons down the road, I still think, again, that a winner will be had sooner than later because of the organization, how it's performed before.
Yeah, you can make a case for that. And the Celtics are better positioned than I think a lot of people who have written them off as dead or whatever, needing to be torn down further, etc. And that's very far from the case. As you said, they have a good base behind them. They also have a lot of good players on good contracts. I mean, we have Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser together. They barely make more than a mid-level exception, the full one combined. You need players like that if you're going to compete for a title in this cap environment. And I know no one wants to hear cap environment, but trust me, no one is more sick of hearing about the salary cap, the second apron, et cetera, than Celtics fans. The thing to remember is this is what the league wanted, right? They wanted rapid turnover. They wanted parity. They wanted every team to have a chance within a relatively short period of time, if not every season. It's going to be very hard to see what a competitive advantage is going to look like in this new NBA besides having that good base that you talked about. And I keep bringing it up, but the new ownership group has proven in the past that they know how to take a team, invest in it, and build it up to a perennial contender. And I expect that from the Lakers ownership group that's taking over now. As to whether Jeannie Buss will be the, shall we say, governor or lead executive or CEO or whatever title you want to put on it, I think it's going to come down to league rules. As we saw with Grausbeck, he was going to be, and it had the contractual obligations written into the ownership takeover contract, that he would be able to stay on as the CEO for the last 3 years between when they started the process and when they bought the last bit of equity to fully take complete ownership of the team. More owners jumped in, diluted the pool to bring Grousbeck under that 15%. And the league has this rule where you cannot be a league governor of a team without owning 15% of the team. So he could no longer be that, and that's what spurred that particular situation. But I suspect even if that hadn't happened, if the Bill Chisholm group, the new owners, decided they want to move in a different direction than what Grousbeck does, I think we know what's actually going to happen, right? The people paying the bills are the people who are going to make the final call. I think that's going to be the same thing with y'all. I don't know anything about what percentage of the team she owns and whether or not those rules would apply for her. But I think as long as everybody's on the same page, then she will be able to continue to serve as the face of the Lakers. And there's a lot of value in that, honestly, because she has relations with the players, the community, the stakeholders, the alumni, and all of that, as well as the relationship she has with the rest of the owners in the league. I'm not even talking about Sincoro. It's going to be important for the future of the team. And like the Celtics, the Lakers have a long and strong fan tradition, and it matters how you handle these things. So there's value in having a face like Wick or Jeannie around to kind of smooth the rough edges when we have to make these cap-saving moves that no one is a fan of, but we all kind of understand. So I do expect that she will be around, but whether or not she will be making any substantial decisions, I'm less enthusiastic about, to say the least.
Once again, it is Justin Quinn from Celtics Wire. Truly appreciated him stopping by. But before we head on out, I always ask, as far as the Celtics are concerned, or any of the other teams that are coming down the line, I'm going to be asking this question before we get to the Lakers and how you see them this season. If everything goes well this season for the Celtics, if it becomes a season where everything hits right on the nose, where do you see this team going this season? Because, again, are they going to tank? Are they not? Are they going to trade off even more assets during the course of the season to alleviate more money and rebuild towards the future? Are they going to go ahead and maybe think if they're winning in a weakened East that they can be competitive? What are your thoughts on, if everything goes right for the Celtics, how do you see their season laying itself out?
So before I talk about how if everything went right, let's touch on how if everything went wrong. Because the Celtics are not going to try to tank on purpose, right?
Yes.
However, the moves made by the front office were as such as they don't really have any starting level bigs on the roster at all at the moment. We can make the case that Nimi Ishiketa has proven he deserves a shot with his Eurobasket play for Portugal, not just getting the first win in team history for Portugal, but the first advancement to be summarily dispatched by Germany, but still to the knockout round. That is not enough. Chris Boucher, who they signed from the Toronto Raptors, long career, but never started, right? That's not his role.
Yeah.
So you do something like that, it kind of puts the team, doesn't matter how much of a winning pedigree you have, how much of a winning culture you have, if you cannot get rebounds consistently, you are probably going to lose the game, right? Even with Jayson Tatum healthy, that might not be a very great roster just because of the front court, shall we say, intentional laming or dismembering or whatever you want to call it. The worst case scenario, right, is that Keta turns an ankle for a couple of weeks, right? Or Jaylen Brown has to miss 3 weeks. Any of those key players, but particularly the front court players, if they experience any kind of extended absence of any kind, they might decide to start a fire sale on every other player on the roster that isn't part of their contention future and just tear it down to the studs and see if they can get some lottery luck. They're not going to be good enough to, contend for a bottom 4 or 5 seed, I think, without something like that happening. And they won't be one of the worst teams unless it happens immediately. So I don't think there's much of a chance of them, quote unquote, tanking, though they might try to improve that draft picks odds depending on when it happens and how it happens. The best case scenario, I think, which is incredibly unlikely, but theoretically possible, Jayson Tatum comes back healthy in January, is ready to play, can ramp up for the playoffs. All of the rotation players that they are taking a chance on work out to enough of a degree that they can finish a home court team, which is, I think, realistically for the regular season, their most likely outcome. They're not going to do better than the Knicks. They're not going to do better than Cleveland to start. I think there's a case for them to be better than any of the rest of the teams in the conference, even if though I have them around 7, 8, 9, somewhere maybe 10 in that range by the end of the season, based on what I expect to happen. But if everyone clicks, Jaylen Brown can just take on the role of Jayson Tatum, becomes a distributor, can draw and pass out of double and triple teams. Like, you hear all these ifs, and when there are so many ifs going on, there's really, really, really low chance of this happening. The best case, I think, outcome of this would be a strong Eastern Conference Finals series against whoever comes out of the East. I don't think they have the horses, so to speak, in the front court to significantly challenge either Cleveland or New York, who both have very capable bigs that will just tear Boston's to shreds. They could add some bigs at the deadline. That could also happen, right? But all of these things, particularly when weighed against the potential value of getting under that luxury tax and setting themselves up for 3 or 4 more years after this, during Jayson Tatum's and Jaylen Brown's prime, I think that's where it's going to end up going. But Eastern Conference Finals, 6 or 7 game series, absolute best case scenario.
Fair enough indeed. But before we head on out, again, I always ask, and I will be asking all the different people around the league that I talk to. It helps me formulate my own opinion because I love getting an outsider's perspective of the Los Angeles Lakers. So I want to hear your thoughts on how you perceive the Lakers coming into this season.
Well, I won't lie to you. Ayton is not the signing I think some people want it to be, but he is a perfectly capable big man who will be able to catch lobs just fine. Maxi Kleber might still have something left in the tank. A lot of the guys they brought back, I think, are going to be interesting. They still have some housekeeping to do in terms of making their roster truly postseason ready. But this season, I think you guys are going to be primed to really see what a good Luka run will be, whether or not LeBron is still on the team by the end of the season.
Yeah.
If he is, and they can make some additional moves, I think you have multiple rounds into the postseason, maybe just 2. Maybe you get to the conference finals. I don't think that the Lakers, as currently constructed, can get themselves, even at the trade deadline, to be a true contender with Denver resurgent and the Thunder being what they are. Houston, they could probably get themselves too close to or around Houston's level. The action is going to be next season. This is a warm-up. This is a tune-up. Next season after this coming one, 26-27, that is when you guys are going to be contending again, I think.
Well, I hope so. But again, where Boston will be at that time is remains to be seen. But I'm not underestimating Boston, your team. Again, I think you have a great front office, a great coaching staff. And obviously you can see the tree. Ime Udoka leaves. He's built a winner in Houston. You still have a championship winning coach there left over. So obviously you got the best of both worlds there. You have, again, Brad Stevens, a GM who's respected around the league. I'm keeping my eye on it, and I'm not underestimating the Celtics at all. And anybody out there who is, it may work against you because, again, I think the clock is ticking, and it's up to the Lakers to go ahead and try and find an answer sooner rather than later, Justin.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but my favorite kinds of NBA Finals is a Lakers-Celtics Finals, and I don't think either of them are going to be in the finals this coming season. But I think we're in a very good position to rekindle that rivalry in a major way the season after.
Sounds good indeed. But before we head on out, it's time for that cheap plug I always ask my guests to go ahead and do. let everyone know out there, if they're watching as an NBA fan, a Celtics fan, even a Lakers fan that wants to know more about the Celtics, how do they get a hold of your great work and how can they follow you out there?
Well, Justin Quinn, Quinn, 3 N's, don't ask, long story. Not really long. I just got mad at Google and I've been sticking with it since. You can find that on Blue Sky, theoretically on Twitter/X, but I don't really post on that too much anymore. It's become quite the adventure on that site. And you can find most of my work on anything that catches podcasts. You can find the Havlicek Stole the Pod podcast on YouTube as well. And you can find my work in the written variety on Celtics Wire on USA Today.
Oh, that's awesome indeed. Please go ahead and check out a part of, like you said, the USA Today experience, Celtics Wire. Go ahead. Some great stuff there. Justin, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to speak to me. I hope our period of time will be sooner. I'd love to catch up with you during the course of the season so you can give me an update on exactly what's going on with the Celtics and our audience as well. Hopefully you will have the time to do so, and I'm wishing you continued success out there for you. So yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you indeed. Once again, Justin Quinn, Celtics Wire. Always great to have him on here. I'm going to touch base with him hopefully this season right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.